On March 22nd, 1998, at 10:15 a.m., 11-year-old Andrew McLean was pronounced dead. He was a foster child in a mental hospital 4 days into his first stay. He just sat down for breakfast, and a male aide demanded that he move from one table to another. Andrew refused. He was placed in a face-down restraint with his arms crossed underneath him. The male aide holding his wrists, and each hand was lying on top of him. He was suffocated in a restraint held by an aide who was responsible for his care. Andrew was one of 24 deaths caused by restraint in the U.S. in 1998. After Andrew's death, a group of reporters from the Hartford Courant noticed that something was not right with restraint and seclusion in the mental health facilities across the United States, and in October of 1998, they released an article that highlighted the 1,500 reported deaths that occurred over 10 years. Because of this article, the government had no choice but to investigate the hospitals around the United States where these deaths were occurring. Their findings were that restraint and seclusion were often ungoverned and unmonitored, that staff were not well trained in restraint and seclusion, and that restraint and seclusion were used for staff convenience and punishment. Their findings ultimately led to stricter laws across the nation. The first time I heard Andrew's story was November 18th, 2017. It was my first week of training at the Big Spring State Hospital. 4.5 years later, I'm the one telling Andrew's story every 2 weeks to the new hires during our lesson in humanity. Part of my job as a training specialist is knowing all the hospital's local and policies and knowing different sections of the TAC so that I can give all staff the knowledge they need to do their job correctly while treating all patients with dignity and respect. As the hospital's TIPS facility coordinator, I'm responsible for keeping the hospital staff trained in the correct ways to protect themselves without using pain, without using excessive force, and without restricting breathing or circulation. I also train the staff in the correct way to restrain as a last resort if a patient is a danger to themselves or others, and all other interventions have been ineffective. I firmly believe that mental illness does not make a person any less worthy of dignity and respect. Having a grandmother who suffered from mental illness made me care even more about the responsibilities of my chosen profession to train mental health care workers to provide the same quality of care to our patients that they would expect for their loved ones. It is my sincere hope that through my work, I can make the world a better place for those who find themselves institutionalized while suffering from mental illness.
Yay!